Welcome back everyone, it is Justin Folks, and in this video I'll be previewing the round of 8 for the 2025 NASCAR Cup Series playoffs, as well as recapping what happened back in the round of 12 to begin this video, and that will help paint the picture on what happened last 3 races and how that ends up setting us up for the next 3 races before the championship race at Phoenix. We'll take a good look in depth on the round of 8, and then after that is mentioned, we'll highlight some playoff drivers, we'll highlight the 4 that got eliminated, and then we'll look at a couple of non-playoff drivers to wrap this up. So essentially, this is being ran the same as last time. At New Hampshire began the round of 12 with a brand new tire from Goodyear, and the good thing is we didn't really see problems with this tire, and it was also a tire that benefited 3/4 of Team Penske. And there would be one incident before the stage 1 break, and that would be Ryan Blaney winning that stage, as he did have the best car all day, and especially on the long run in stage 2. Had a lot of moments, which included Denny Hamlin taking out Ty Gibbs after he ran into himself and Christopher Bell countless amount of times before then, and this would breed another caution, and that ends up collecting playoff drivers Austin Cindric, and then Christopher Bell gets a little piece of it, but Bell was okay. And then things would cool off, and at the end of stage 2, it's Joey Logano winning the stage, and he ends up earning a playoff bonus point. And we only saw one caution since, and that was after a cycle green flag pit stops, meaning the field got stacked up once again, and you got these guys on strategy on little older tires or little newer tires, and ultimately at the end, it would be Ryan Blaney winning in dominant fashion. He's the first one to make it into the round of 8. Kansas, I highly recommend checking out my race vlog because that was incredible. And in this race, it would be dominated by Denny Hamlin. And as per usual, Kansas starts off calm, and then you have that cycle green flag pit stop splitting the stage. And then we had a somewhat late restart, but Denny Hamlin would show he has the best car, and he wins stage 1. And then we have an early yellow in stage 2. But after that, it'd be a replica of stage 1, and Denny Hamlin ends up winning stage 2. But you could tell how lap traffic at the end ended up giving opportunity to cars behind Hamlin to catch up and give him a run for his money to win the stages. And then we get into the hectic stage 3, where a slow JJ Yeley breeded a caution, which saw quite a big incident that included every Team Penske car, and then things would be okay after that. And then we see more cautions, and then notably Carson Hocevar can't get his car going, so we're pretty much going to overtime. And first overtime attempt, it was wild. Bubba Wallace on the bottom against Christopher Bell, and then Zane Smith goes flipping, so we end up going to a second attempt, and same situation again, and it appears Wallace runs Bell up into the wall, coming to the white flag, and then Wallace runs the bottom, Hamlin runs the top, and Wallace tries to block Hamlin. He does it the first time, but the second time is unsuccessful, so Hamlin's to the inside. They're going into turn 3, and Hamlin just sweeps up right in the walls and sends him to the wall, and then next thing you know, Chase Elliott, who was having a top 5 day, he led some laps. He ends up sneaking by on the bottom, all throttle with Hamlin coming down on him, but he would make it to the checker flag first, and I would say it was a good day in Kansas City that day. Once again, a new tire at Charlotte on the road course setup put up a good race when it came to tire wear and strategy, and it beat playoff driver Tyler Reddick starting first, who needed a massive performance being behind the cut line, and non-playoff driver Shane Van Gisbergen would be the dominator, and we only saw one yellow for incident, which was early back in stage 3. And then stage 1, we see Austin Cindric just have an absolute disaster of a race, spinning out, I believe, up to 4 times, but it may have been 3, and that would damage his car, and he stayed on the track, but the only spot he gained was to the right of the Herbst, getting disqualified ultimately. And in this race, I felt Larson and Bell were the ones chasing Van Gisbergen throughout the race, and then that's after the 45 faded quite quickly. And then at the end of stage 1, Ross Chastain will go straight out the pits, as in if it was the oval, and there's this weird gap there. So he went forward, and he loses a lot of spots. And then stage 2, we see a lot of strategy with drivers desperate for playoff points in general, or even just a playoff bonus point, meaning Ryan Blaney ended up winning stage 2. And in stage 3 early on, We see our one and only caution for incident, and after that, it was a three-way battle for the lead with the three drivers as mentioned up front, with Larson grabbing the lead and Bell just sitting back trying to play spoiler. And then in the back, it was between Chastain and Logano for the last spot, and when it came down to strategies, Chastain misshifted on pit road, which is unheard of, honestly, and it cost him a lot of time in spots. And Logano did a two-stop on fresher tires, and there was other drivers on fresher tires, and ended up coming to the last lap where Hamlin got by Chastain, and that would have eliminated the one. So Chastain in the final two corners, he ends up going full send, and he wipes out Hamlin. They both crash, and Chastain gets in reverse trying to get spots and get to the finish line before the 22, but Logano literally ends up passing him, and the defending champion stays alive. So how does this set us up? Just about 88% accuracy of what I said previously in my prediction video of what the round of 8 would look like, and instead of Tyler Reddick being the one in, it is Chase Briscoe, which he came extremely close, maybe not extremely close, but close to not making it. So honestly, I don't feel much regret with my thoughts since the 19 struggled in the round of 12. The four drivers who were eliminated included Ross Chastain off a last lap at Charlotte, 2311 Racing teammates Tyler Reddick and Bubba Wallace, who their runs at New Hampshire were not ideal and put them in this situation. And Austin Cindric was the fourth one eliminated, who crashed in every single race. Looking at what the points look like now, a reminder, you now cannot earn playoff bonus points from here on out. So what you see is final, and when it comes to like winning stages or stages for those playoff bonus points, and then also from 9th to 16th, all of those drivers are essentially on an equal playing field for points, and they're going to fight for 5th through 16th. We'll see who the other four drivers who get eliminated are. But anyways, currently sitting first is Denny Hamlin, but he's only +8 above the cut line, which is insane how close the top 5 are. And second includes Ryan Blaney, who has found just ways to put himself in better situations per each round, and he's +6. Third is Kyle Larson, who is tied with William Byron, and they are both +4. And then the driver holding the 5th spot is Christopher Bell. Then it's a bigger gap with Chase Elliott, -14, who did win at Kansas, and he's tied with Chase Briscoe. And in 8th is Joey Logano, who is -24 to the good, and that one stage point from his home track could be big or absolutely nothing. The next 3 races on NASCAR Cup Series schedule are once again very diverse. It begins with Las Vegas Motor Speedway, a 1.5-mile intermediate, and it will be the final time it's in the round of 8, as Las Vegas will be in the round of 12 in 2026. After that, Talladega Superspeedway enters the round of 8 for the first time, a 2.66-mile superspeedway, which is very scary and very questionable at this stage of the season. And lastly, to confirm which 4 drivers will be in the championship for, it's the short track of Martinsville Speedway, a 1/2-mile oval. Now I'm going to give you my thoughts on the last 3 races of the round of 12. So we're going to begin with New Hampshire. So, a race that gets dominated by Ryan Blaney, and you see Joey Logano up in the front most of the time. But I did like to see what the tires did in this race, and you can make the grooves work, honestly. And I will probably miss the track being in the playoffs because it literally just came back this year. I know the weather wasn't the most ideal, but I think I would have enjoyed it if I was up there at the time. And I did think Denny Hamlin taking out Ty Gibbs in the race was interesting. I don't think Gibbs should have been racing him and Bell as hard as he was, but I was shocked that Hamlin just took out a race car on purpose that was associated to him. But maybe not so much anymore after the conclusion of this round. And I don't really got too much to say about this race, honestly. So I'm sorry, but it was good. Not great. Try not to be biased. I just don't remember anything standing out or anything horrible. And then talking about great, though, we saw the greatest finish of the year at Kansas. And something I do want to mention, which I haven't said all year, or maybe I did in the spring, and we'll talk about this more another time, but the stages I feel did not let this race play out as naturally as it should have in the first half. And we always see where the leader struggles getting into lap traffic at the end of these stages, and the cars behind the leader start to challenge that driver, but there's just not enough laps. And in both stages, Hamlin ends up winning both of them, kind of like what Larson did in the spring. So the intensity did pick up lap by lap, honestly, or stage by stage if you want to call it that. And then it just turned wild in stage 3 with cautions breeding cautions. And I know Carson Hosvard did get fined for a safety violation for throttling up while being hooked on a tow truck. So I understand now. I could not see anything either at the track. But anyways, in the first overtime, I am shocked that Zane Smith flipped over, and the next gen car, it gets airborne a lot, and it also seems very springy, so it doesn't appear that NASCAR cares anyways. But anyways, in the final overtime, it was still shocking to see Hamlin ruin his chances at winning, let alone he ruined Bubba Wallace's chance of winning, and that's who he employs, so he didn't help himself, he didn't help his team in any way, and the fan favorite Chase Elliott ends up sneaking by. I did love the energy from the fans at the end, and it was great to leave a track with, the majority of people extremely happy and feeling really good. So overall, it was a great finish, and I saw it with my Nana, so it was even better. Lastly, at Charlotte on the road course, the tire wear was very fun for me. I mean, it was still obvious who was bound to win, but it did allow for strategies throughout the race. I do have to say some of these tire barriers placed around the track were ridiculous, and I know they're just tires, but there's literally a part of the track, I forgot what turn it is, but you can literally just extend the wall unless they wanted cars to get less damage. But either way, it looked absolutely hideous going into the oval turn 1, that area. Other than that, I did have zero complaints, and it did set up some wild stuff at the end, including the leader blowing a tire, it appeared, on the last lap, and a desperate Chastain due to all the strategies that did not play in his favor at the end. And I'm not going to be the one to say this is what I want, since I have lots of opinions, honestly, but personally, I was satisfied, and do need to keep in mind that I did just bring up Shane Van Gisbergen having a tire problem with the right rear, and we even saw Allmendinger taken out on the last turn before all that playoff drama happened. So there was a lot more than just a playoff driver getting into other stuff, trying to, be desperate. So there was lots of just late drama in general, which is what those last few corners set up for at Charlotte. Lastly, I'm going to highlight a total of 10 drivers, as mentioned earlier in the video, 4 playoff drivers, the other 4 that got eliminated, and if you haven't done the math in your head yet, the last 2 are non-playoff drivers. Denny Hamlin enters the round of 8 with the points lead. However, I feel he can be in a better situation, and at one point, you can blame everybody a part of the team. He didn't win Kansas after winning both stages, as he let Chase Elliott just be the one to sneak by, and I'm going to be honest, he had no business winning that race. He's also making, I don't know if I'm going to say enemies, but foes after purposely wrecking Ty Gibbs at New Hampshire, and then walling his own car driven by Bubba Wallace on the last lap at Kansas. And I'd suspect he's not going to be raced the same by these two, minus the relations, and this is a good way to set yourself up for failure at Talladega with, 2 drivers who would be more than willing to work with you, but now they may not want to as much. He can win at Martinsville, though, which he did earlier this year, and that is what I'm expecting as of now. But we'll see what happens, but I feel he should be fine, but we will probably have to look back at some of these moments, especially at the Kansas race, whether you want to blame him or the pit crew, or both. As mentioned, Ryan Blaney puts himself in better situations per each round this year, and he's done it again after a win and accumulating 2 stage wins for 7 playoff bonus points. This may be great, as Las Vegas has treated him terribly, but the next 2 tracks on the schedule are tracks where he can win, and he's done it before, and I'm not too sure what his fate will be because of what we saw in the spring at Las Vegas, and even the other times at Las Vegas, and I do think he can points his way in, but we'll have to see with the top 5 being as close as they are, how it will shape out, and if he can actually win at Martinsville this time around. So we'll see. This feels like the win that this team needed. They've relied on a lot of drivers to take themselves out to end up winning, but wins are wins, and here they are in the round of 8, and the 9 is 14 points back, so they're going to need to run good, and this is where I feel they're going to need to find a win somewhere again, or just get not caught up in absolutely anything and run fairly perfect. The consistency is there, and Elliott has been very sneaky, running the top 5 as well as the top 10, but maybe, just maybe, they can do that if they stay out of trouble and run fairly perfect. But unfortunately, with the tracks on the schedule, that is extremely hard to do in general. So I feel another win for this team is going to be key if you want to get to the championship 4 at this point. The defending champion is still alive after taking advantage of the last lap at Charlotte, and he is way out of this on points, so I don't see how in the world he makes it in on points, even with that stage point here at New Hampshire. However, he's the defending race winner at Las Vegas, so maybe they'll find a way to have a really good day, but I wouldn't expect a win. The only reason I'm not going to count out the 22 is that Talladega is on the schedule, and the reality is he knows it, as in the whole team knows it too. I'm sure this is their chance to win and get back to the championship, and I feel the chances are really good in that aspect. However, if they don't come out with a win in the first 2 races, it's probably not even going to be a consideration for Martinsville that he gets to the championship for them. The first driver out is Ross Chastain, who couldn't hold off fresh tires, and the second Hail Melon attempt failed and saw Joey Logano sneak right on by. It's interesting because Shane Van Gisbergen has been outrunning him at some point in every race in this round, but Chastain was also solid. And I thought overall they ran good, but it's literally the mistakes at Charlotte end up costing them, and Chastain's on the outside eliminated. It sucks, but I do believe they're going to look for a redemption win, and I think they can get one in the round of 8. Tyler Reddick may be out, but I do applaud this driver for his courage, being on the racetrack and fighting for everything he had. I just feel at New Hampshire, his run there didn't help his case, and it really just counted on him to run excellent here on out. But the other drivers just set the bar high throughout the whole round of 12, and I know he's dealing with a lot of personal things outside of racing, so continue to pray for him, everybody, and his family as well, as he looks to wrap up this season, and he's going to be looking for a win here because he does not have a win yet this season. The story on the track is fairly identical to Reddick. The difference is, racing at Kansas, he was 2 turns away of being in the round of 8, but he was in the wall instead on behalf of his own employer, and that's really the difference maker here. And it sucks, but I do want to say I love the maturity of Bubba Wallace, and we've seen a whole different man, and sometimes being a father can humble you too. And he's having the best season yet, and he's been very fun to watch, and hopefully he can continue to just make some more noise throughout the rest of the season. It appears Austin Cindric got the treatment that Josh Berry did in the round of 16, and it wasn't as bad, but it was pretty bad. And he was the worst out of Team Penske in every race, but he also got caught up in trouble, being closer to the back than to the front. And this team was better in the first half of the year, but a lot of that just disappeared. And it does suck. He got involved in so many things, and he was too desperate at Charlotte. But bad starts to the weekends will do this to you. I wonder how Cindric will respond for the final 4 races of the year. But the good news is Talladega lurks ahead. Shane Van Gisbergen may not be in the playoffs anymore, but this is the best version of him we've seen all year. At New Hampshire, he had a great qualifying effort and he ran in the top 5, but his inexperience got to him and he ended up causing multiple incidents. And at Kansas, he gets a penalty at the start of the race and he rallies all the way back for a top 10. And at the road course at Charlotte, he gets a win holding off desperate playoff drivers Abel and Larson. And he has 5 wins on the year, and believe it or not, he has an opportunity for 6 when we bring up Talladega, because a lot of things can happen there. And it just seems the pressure is off this team, and maybe they could continue to be the best car for Trackhouse, which would be a massive statement. This season is Kyle Busch's worst in his career. His crew chief is on the way out to work with rookie Connor Zolich in 2026, and Busch will have Andy Street moving up from the Xfinity Series program, who is the current crew chief for Austin Hill. And this all really didn't work out in the long term, and it just sounds like even the spotter has had enough. He said he wants to jump off the spotter stand also, and it just sucks seeing a Hall of Famer in the sport end up like this right now, and sometimes even be running dead last with the worst car on the track. So it's hit an extreme low. I don't know how you fix this, minus maybe what you're doing now. It's a start, I guess. But Kyle Busch probably can't wait for the offseason, and I don't think it's a driver issue, though. Alright, that will do it for this video. Just want to say thanks for watching, everyone, and if you stuck to the end, if you could hit that subscribe button, it would be highly appreciated and amazing. Times aren't the easiest right now, as this video is well behind schedule, but I did want to just say to everyone, thank you for the support, and I hope to see you all very soon. Take care.